G'day guys, and welcome back to the channel. I just wanted to update everybody on what's happening with our VFiPP plates because the pilot run samples did arrive, and we had a bit of a mini launch. I thought it might be prudent to just trial it first, and we sent it out to a bunch of people in the industry and to friends and anybody interested overseas. And we had some feedback, and it was good feedback. Issues all around. So we've again decided to delay the launch, and the reason for that was numerous. Firstly, we didn't have these deep baskets, and they're actually the plan was to use Pullman baskets, the 30 gram or 28 gram, I think they are. But there's a couple of issues with them. Firstly, they're not a stock item, so they're not commonly available. But secondly, found out something interesting. VFiPP's not actually compatible with these kinds of traditional baskets. And that's what this video is about, because what we found was something called micro air locking with VFiPPs. And it was really discovered or commented on by Bruno Maiolo, which is the president of the Australian Roasters Association. I've been kind of not working with, but he's been good enough to kind of taste some of the shots that we've been doing. And what he took away a few plates, and I think he was pulling on standard 9-bar machines. Now I've been using the flare, and I've been kind of using like declining profiles, and on the flare you can kind of manipulate the pressure profile. But a flat 9-bar machine is slightly different in that it just slams on the pressure without any kind of pre-infusion. And I think he was using also a shallower puck. So the VFiPPs take up 11 mil in the puck, and so if you're pulling shots on shallower pucks, I think there's flow imbalances. I know I've commented that VFiPPs can do 15 grams, 12 grams, but I don't recommend. You can do it in a pinch, but I don't recommend it. I recommend the full 21 gram dose, and we just don't have baskets to do that. So we have to come up with our own basket. But the other thing is what Bruno said, that the shots were a little bit kind of duller than what you can get with a proper dial-in, and a little bit harsher on the brighter side, but not a pleasant brightness, a harsher brightness. It's taken 2 weeks to kind of track down exactly what he means by that, or exactly where that's coming from. And it's coming from these kind of airlocks that I want to get into and describe now, because they're kind of relevant to traditional espresso as well. And by the way, before I forget, the VFiPP should be available on the website pretty soon. We're just going through some final legal things. We've just done a freedom to operate search. Just want to make sure that don't infringing on anybody's ideas, and just a few more legal matters to get out of the way. They should be available soon. Anyone in Australia, if you want to experiment with these, if you've got like a deep basket, but I'll give you a basket recommendation. It's going to be the WFiPP one. That's pretty much the only one that's compatible today. If you want to send you out a free sample, I'll leave a code in this in either in the comment section or in the description of this video, where you'll just discount the VFiPP for nothing, and it'll just be a shipping rate. Okay, so I'll just play a couple of shots that kind of exemplify what's going on, because you can really tell a lot by looking at a bottomless portafilter basket in diagnosing. I'm gonna play a video on my phone, but I'll put it up on screen and I'll walk you through it. All right, so let's play this video. This is a Pullman basket with VFiPPs. Okay, 0.5 button. I think it's a 20-something gram dose. On the flare. So it looks gorgeous. It always looks gorgeous, the VFiPPs, because they're quite balanced. You'll notice that there's no contrast between dark and light spots and blonde spots, which is characteristic of VFiPP. So it's quite an even extraction. I think it was Robert Allen that first said that that's actually a sign of channeling, and it is. That if you get a blonde and halfway throughout the shot, if your bottomless portafilter is still showing dark spots coming out, that's not an efficient extraction. So it keeps going. There is a bit of an inefficiency there. You can see a dark streak. But when we stop the shot, can you see all of those air bubbles come out? That is micro air locking. So what's happening? And by the way, I'll just continue the shot. And then when you reapply the pressure, you still see a lot of dark liquid come out. And what that indicates, or what that shows with traditional baskets, is that what VFiPP is doing is compressing the puck, all right? But it's a persistent and non-degrading compression. unless you do a lever shot, sorry, a declining lever shot. Traditional espresso without VFiPP, without that compression, the fines get evacuated in the top layer, and that layer then compresses that bottom layer much less, and that naturally releases those kinds of those airlocks, and that was the source of that kind of missing vibrancy I found in VFiPPs with traditional baskets, because I had to do proper blind tasting side to side. Where Bruno's, he's got a nose of a hound and you can tell straight away, but I had to do proper blind tasting. So the thing that recovered it is these kinds of baskets with like 3,000 holes. So the recommended basket for now, the only compatible basket really is the Wafer Classic 35 millimeter height. We need to do a custom basket. I think it's going to be 33 or 35. It's going to have over 3,000 holes, and it's going to release those airlocks. So the way I discovered this, I'll show you another video. This video is of a basket, and it's got these kind of meshes. It's got these two meshes on the bottom. That's the only difference. The basket type, I think the shot dynamics is sorry, the shot characteristics, the dose and the pressure profile is all the same. You could kind of term this a crema braking basket or an airlock braking kind of basket. But let's have a look at this shot, right? Because it is really informative and interesting. So the shot starts, there's a bit of ringing with every shot, and that's nothing to worry about. Once the pressure slams on, the side channels kind of stop. But what you can see here on this shot is, see those macroscopic bubbles come out? Now this is a relatively fresh roast. It's only about, I think 10 days off roast. But you can see all of those bubbles come out there. Exactly the same coffee, by the way, as the Pullman previous shot, taken on the same day. And what that does, that crema braking basket with all of those holes, is it releases all of those airlocks. And what that does is it actually allows water to come back into contact, or come into contact with the coffee grinds surface area, and extract the coffee grinds a bit better. So you get a more even extraction. Now there's a number of ways of releasing airlocks. I could come up with, I don't know, 5 different ways. The easiest, and I don't think we have to weld the mesh to our basket, the easiest is to use a 3,000 hole basket. And that will release those kind of airlocks and recover that kind of vibrancy. But it does mean that we are stuck now with waiting for a new basket. We're staring down the barrel of like 4 months wait. I also want to say, in that example, it kind of exemplifies 2 things: why declining lever profiles are so popular and preferred. And I think it's this. I think there's micro airlocks in every kind of extraction, especially 9 bar, especially for fresh roast, because you observe it with a really fresh roast. All of this kind of foam comes out at the end. That's just airlocking coming out. But with the declining lever, you kind of it's a lot more gentler. So you're not pressing on that puck, and you're allowing the water to kind of come into contact with the grinds. And I think by releasing that air, you're number one, creating a higher TDS extraction, but number 2, all of that C2O is coming out as larger bubbles, and that allows the C2O to escape faster, and it doesn't integrate into the espresso, because C2O, and this is known, is kind of perceived as effervescence and harshness in the cup, and that's not a very pleasant. Crema is not a pleasant thing to taste, and one of the reasons for that is it's full of CO2. And CO2 is acidic on the tongue. Like if you take a really fresh bag of beans and you put your nose up and you take a big whiff, that burns. That burns your olfactory senses, and it burns because when CO2 lands on your olfactory senses, it gets turned into, I think, carbonic acids or whatever. It's acidic, and it actually burns you, and you kind of recoil. Breaking the CO2 and releasing it quicker, I think, provides a fruitier and more pleasant espresso. And so VFiPPs are going to be a low crema production kind of process. I can see that now. It's going to be more suitable to kind of milk drinks, fruitier, kind of more vibrant milk drinks versus perhaps even for espresso, because it's not going to have as good a mouthfeel as traditional espresso with all that crema. It will have a good body, especially with the 3,000 holes, because all of these fines will come out. But it's not going to have that mouthfeel. I think that's going to be slightly degraded. So I just wanted to point that out. Lastly, I just want to talk about the hole perforations that we're going to be using for both the J lever and the VFiPP plates. There's going to be more holes than the wafer, right? Over 3,000. Very even spacing. So the squares, if you can see there, and the hex patterns are very even, evenly spaced. So it's quite an even spacing hole pattern. We've chosen that because of these airlocks, to release these airlocks. There's other options to release airlocks. We could weld, in the worst case scenario, if we still have these issues, could weld a mesh on the bottom. I don't really want to do that. Or we could cut these kind of laser cut these groove drain channels into the holes. I think that will potentially weaken the basket. Again, I don't want to do that. But I think the over 3,000 holes should release those airlocks quite readily, and as a result, that vibrancy, the fruity vibrancy, should be recovered. So yeah, just a quick video. We'll do a J lever update quite soon. We're making progress there, and we've got like a sample. We need to cut 3 tools, and the cylinder has really delayed things, and the VFiPP plates have really delayed things. But they were the 2 hardest bits to make, and that's completed. We need to cut 3 tools, which will take about another month and a half or so, and we'll have a manufacturer ready prototype in close to 2 months. But I'll do an update quite soon. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.